Hello again. Bet you didn't expect to see me so soon. Told you. I'll always keep you on your toes. Always keep you on your toes. So, I have some incense from Letty. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're just going to light some of them so my room doesn't smell like cat poop. I wish I was joking. But I'm not. I'm not. And thank you, Ashley, for this beautiful cactus. We use a lid from Letty's Candles. You guys just spoil me. And hopefully that ash finds its way in that can. So, hi. Hey. You guys are probably wondering why I'm back already. But I have something I want to talk to you guys about. I haven't done a book recommendations video since like February or January. But thinking back, probably wasn't that great. I'm just joking. But recently, I have kind of found myself struggling to not necessarily read, but read big chunks at a time and sort of be hooked into a book. And not gonna disregard the fact that it's a total wormhole outside, just in the media and society itself, that it's kind of hard to just take a break and allow our minds to sort of switch over to a book and sit there and not think about what's happening out there. So, with it being kind of spooky season and my lack thereof of SFX makeup tutorials, which I severely apologize, I'm trying to get on it. Try harder. And so I wanted to do I wanted to recommend this book to you today because not only is it a little creepy, but I have an interesting story behind it, and I had one of you guys tell me that you wanted me to do some more story times. So I'm gonna kind of try to do a whole bunch of things in one. I want to tell you a story, I want to give you a book recommendation, I want to tell you about this book, and I want to tell you my theories about this. Another reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I haven't finished it. I'm about almost halfway through. It's funny, I give myself treats if I finish reading where I want to finish. So when I get to chapter 10, I have a couple of dried flowers waiting for me. It's just incentives, my people. Anyway, can you tell that I completely cleaned right over there? Yeah, last video there's a big old stack of clothes. And in my head I was like, girl, instead of clearing off your bed, clear out that too. I wanna look a little bit more put together. What can I say? You might hear the laundry going. You might think, Sarah, there's hot water in there. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, so story time begins now. About a week ago, I forgot to write the date. I always love to write the date when I find or buy a book just for shits and giggles. So I should have done that with this book, but I had completely forgotten. So, walking the dogs outside, right? Nighttime, right? Actually, I lied. It might have been daytime. See, this is why you write the hours. It was at dusk, so I was either really early in the morning or really late. So it's either the first walk or the last walk. I can't remember. So, anywho, I'm walking and I see a pile of things. And curiosity killed the cat, and I am a collector. So I tiptoed over there, and there were people around, so it was a little bit weird because I should just not care, I just shouldn't care about what people think of me if I want to dig through items I find. So the reason why I wanted to go look to see what it was mostly because I saw a book was laying there and it was kind of wet. I don't have the cover on this anymore. One, because I don't know where that book had been. Still, it's not like Sarah, the pages would be just as, filthy. But the cover was really dirty. It was ripped. I have it still. I'm never going to give it away. But there was a sticker from a loaf of bread from Safeway. So I just thought it was really interesting. It was the universe was just waiting for me to find it. And I was like, you know what? It's and not like that. When I opened it up, it looks like it's never been read. And to find something just laying outside in the dirt and it not be dirty on the inside, I don't know. I was just a little bit confused. But anywho. A good book mother doesn't leave the book baby behind, so I adopted it. Just joking. I didn't, or I'm not joking, I did. So I pick up this book, and you know me, I am the queen of wanting to stay curious. So I don't really like to read the back of books or the what they're about. If I found it for a reason. And I have another story time of this time. We went into the tunnels with some friends, and I found another book just laying on the ground. Really creepy. I'll have to talk to you about that too. So anyway, hold on. I am trying to be very responsible as the adult I am. So I'm gonna go put my clothes in the dryer. Whoa, did I get lost along the way? Just joking. So anyway, yeah, I have another story time about like interesting books that I spontaneously find, which is way different than just like walking into a bookstore and finding a cool book and being like, oh my god, this is so cool. I've been starting to find these like pennies, man. If you know me, then you know. So I want to recommend my first book to you in a while, and that is called The Fear Index by Robert Harris. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to recommend this book specifically, one is because I feel like it's kind of a little special sign that I found it. I'm not used to just randomly finding books like sitting in the grass or just like somebody had dropped it and or forgot about it. I don't know. That's new to me, so when that started happening, it was kind of like, whoa, this is really cool. I feel like books themselves carry so much energy. I really want you guys to still keep reading. I know I had mentioned that it might be hard to wrap our brains around a book right now, but we still need to exercise our brains. And I know some of us are in school, so you're like, dude, I do that all the time, but this book kind of allows me to take a break from reality. And like I said, it's been a while since that's happened. So I'll pick this up and hours can go by and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know it's been that long, but this book is so like amazing. So anyway, it starts off with this main man, and his name is Hoffman. And the reason why also this is so cool is because one day Hoffman comes home from work and there's a package on his kitchen table. And inside of the package is a book. And the book has no like to and from, but it is a book by Charles Darwin. And it's about like animals and humans and things like that. So in his head he's kind of like, oh, this is cool. Maybe his wife sent it to him, maybe a friend sent it to him. He wasn't really sure, but he knew for a fact that he didn't order it himself. So, you know, without like getting into too much of it, and it's really interesting because I could go on and on and on for probably an hour talking about this book, and like I said, I'm almost halfway, so it's like I still have so much more to read, and it's just so interesting. It's not like it moves fast, but the way that they explain the events and the way it's written is very just interesting. It really pulls you in. So as I said, he gets home and he finds this book and he's like, where the hell did this book come from? And he asks his wife when she gets home. She's like, honey, I did not get that for you, I'm sorry. And he just gets really, really confused. And so what the beginning of the portion of this book is about is him trying to figure out where the hell this book came from. And one night, I can't remember if it's the first night he gets the book or if it's the next night, somebody breaks into his house. He doesn't necessarily understand what's going on because he hears some noises and he can't sleep, but he's like, maybe it's my wife because she had to get up, but it wasn't. She was right next to him. He's kind of like walking around, and he lives in a big, big house because he's a millionaire. So it's also really interesting to like read about his life. So then he sees somebody's boots right next to the front door, and he's like, okay, no, this is not okay. And then he looks up, and there's this guy looking at a knife in his kitchen. So he's just like, what the hell? And he's freaking out. He knows that if he like screams, the guy might come after him, or he might run to get his wife, but his wife is so far away up in the bedroom that he just ends up trying to call her. He goes, maybe she has her cell phone on her, I'm just going to give her a call. So he ends up giving her a call, but she left her her phone on the kitchen table where the man is. Already, I know you're already on the side of your seat. So the man ends up looking over, sees it, looks up, sees him. The man takes a fire extinguisher, because he's in the kitchen, and I guess, you know, when you're rich, you just have a fire extinguisher. I'm just joking, you should, that's very smart. So he ends up taking a fire extinguisher, he hits this guy on the side of the head, and boom, blackout. Man wakes up, wife, paramedic, best friend. World is so different now, right? Kind of, you know, if you've ever been hit in the head pretty hard, you know what it feels like. So he wakes up and he's just like, yo, what the heck happened? Now he's trying to like kind of wrap his head around everything. So his buddy, who happens to be his main guy who he works with, and he owns this company, which I'm about to talk about. So anyway, long story short, he like goes to the hospital. He doesn't want to be there because he really wants to try to figure out what the hell's going on. He gets a weird book delivered to him that just shows up at his house. He didn't ask for it. He has a random guy break into his house. He gets hit over the head with a fire extinguisher. They say that there's basically no trace of this guy after the detectives start trying to work on his house. And so he's just like, you know what, I'm not trying to be sitting here getting an MRI on my brain. Like, I just need to go home. I need to make sure my wife is safe, and I need to figure out if these two are connected. So that's what he does. But first, he has to stop by his office because he's like, you know what, I want to try to see if I can check my emails, figure out what's going on. I want to see what's happening. He's smart. He decides to open up the front book cover, and he sees the library stamped on the book. Or not necessarily like a library, but the bookstore, the company that it came from. So he Googles that company, a phone number pops up. Boom. First step. Baby steps. That's all that matters. He gets onto the phone, and he calls the library. And he's like, hey, you guys, I got a weird book sent to me. Do you mind going into your little system and telling me who sent this, like, who made you send this book? And she goes, oh, are you talking about the Charles Darwin book? And he goes, what do you mean? And she goes, yeah, Mr. Hoffman, your phone number and email address are correlated to this. You ordered this book. And he's like, no, I didn't. I didn't order this book. And he goes, can you give me some more information? This must be fraud. Somebody is, like, taking my identity. And this lady's kind of like, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Like, why would you be that upset that somebody ordered a book? Like, not, you know, it's, I get it. It's a bad thing, but why are you so upset if somebody just, like, decided to order you a book? Like, you know, maybe change your email address or something, but don't trip about it. And he's like, okay, well, I need to trip about it because how did they pay for it? She goes, well, there's a credit card on file. So he's like, oh my gosh, okay, now it's real identity fraud. So, long story short, I kind of wanted to get into a brief, I know you're kind of like, Sarah, why are you just stopping there? But, because it starts getting a little bit more interesting. But it's interesting because it'll start talking about him being in the hospital or him having a conversation with his wife or him trying to figure this out. But then it jumps to, like, the next day at work when he has an office meeting. So it's a whole different energy. It's not necessarily that you're as feeling suspenseful, but now you're actually learning about what he's doing at his job. And, it's really interesting. It's not something boring. So this man works at this company, and for me, it's still really hard to get my head around it. It's not necessarily like investments, but it's that he works at this place that basically is like a idea similar to CERN. It's this warehouse that has a whole bunch of supercomputers that I'm talking are just collecting data at the speed of light, and what's really interesting is that this company that this man is owning and created, it is completely paperless, and his goal is to become completely digitalized. And it's not necessarily like that's his goal because he's already there, but you're not allowed to have books, you're not allowed to take notes. There's this one time where one of his clients is trying to take notes about some of the stuff he's saying, and he rips the piece of paper off of the notebook and puts it in his pocket, and he's like, I told you this was paperless, you know, I'm sorry. And so one of the other clients, that's when they get information that all these supercomputers are completely independently ran and that they don't need human interaction at all whatsoever. And he's like, it's just this, like, development that we've been going on for forever. And so what they do is they just collect a whole bunch of data. That's why I really like this book too, is because it's teaching you a lot. You can go back and read more, not read more, but read it to try to understand it more. That's what I have to do. But it's basically that they take information out from, like, the media or the market and how the things are fluctuating. I starred a page because I knew this was going to be really hard for me to explain. Okay, so that's what he does. He does algorithmic trading. Right now they're kind of going, they're just talking about how everything is digitalized and how due to the fact that we are digitalizing everything, we're starting to learn that there is a physical limit to how much a human can comprehend. There is no limit to how much a computer can absorb. In a sense, this is when I started to get creeped out. What they have tried to do with their new generation of algorithms is to isolate, measure, and factor into our market calculations the element of price that derives entirely from predictable patterns of human behavior. So then what this other guy comes in and he says, isn't that just behavioral finance? And he goes, well, this is where our company tries to get a little bit deeper into it. We can't analyze every aspect of human behavior in the markets and its likely trigger over the past 20 years. However, much data is now digitally available, and however fast our hardware scans it. We realized from the start we would have to narrow the focus right down. The solution we came up with was to pick on one particular emotion, for which we know we have substantive data. So which have you picked? And he goes, fear. So then everybody in the room kind of looks at each other and like, okay, so your supercomputers are basically running off of the behavioral patterns based off of fear and how people react and the predictable reactions of people when they are scared. So of course, like, everybody would be like, okay, what are you trying to do? And this is what kind of really caught my attention too. And I even circled fear, and I was like, holy moly, fear equals substantive data, which is easy to collect. And I'm kind of like, okay, so like I said, if we are consistently in a state of fear, this is where my theories outside of the book are coming in. And I'm like, I know this is just a book, but I found it for a reason. Imagine if that's how this just entire world is working right now. And I know a lot of us have gone over this theory before of like fear porn and just thriving off of fear. And that's the biggest thing that the media can eat off of. Like we said, it's the biggest thing to profit off of. What if people and these supercomputers, like even CERN is a huge supercomputer that is collecting data. Every computer out there is something that's collecting data, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And like we said, being able to absorb more data, more information at a faster rate than we can. So if we're always on social media and we're always talking about what we're scared of, or we're always sharing things that are scary, or we're always tuned into the news channel that's talking about scary things, and then that's just the top of the headlines, and that's then what the celebrities are talking about. What if it is because all of these computers and all the technology around us, and maybe this is even more like the movie Social Dilemma, which I wanted to talk about with you guys here soon, that can come into play. What if they just know that fear is what makes the most money? It's what can keep this world going in the palm of their hands. You know what I mean? And that's what this supercomputer does, and they absolutely profit off of it. So anyway, what they say is, guys kind of like look at them crazy and they're like, dude, what do you mean? Like, why did you choose fear out of all things? So they say, fear is historically the strongest emotion in economics. Remember Franklin D. Roosevelt in the Great Depression? It's the most famous quote in financial history. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. In fact, fear is probably the strongest human emotion, period. Whoever woke up at 4 a.m. just because they were feeling happy. It's so strong, we've actually found it relatively easy to filter out the noise made by other emotional inputs and focus on this primary signal. One thing we've been able to do, for instance, is to correlate recent market fluctuations with the frequency rate of fear-related words in the media. Terror, alarm, panic, horror, dismay, dread, scare, anthrax, nuclear. Our conclusion is that fear is driving the world as never before. So then he goes on to say, our conclusion is that digitalization itself is creating an epidemic of fear, and that they had it right. We live in a world not of real things, but of opinion and fantasy. The rise in our market validity, in our opinion, is a function of digitalization, which is exaggerating human mood swings by the unpredicted dissemination of information via the internet. So they're saying they can correlate the way the market fluctuates at the rate of fear words in the media. What is happening right now? Like, I know this is just a book, but I'm telling you, that's what's happening right now. I know that there's true fear going on, but in my opinion, there is a way to stop it somehow. We just don't have the right systems in place. As I had mentioned, it'll go from having a little section talking about a whole bunch of stuff about smart computers, and then it makes your brain start really thinking about, whoa, maybe this is real, and then it'll jump to a next section where it goes back into like character mode, and so your brain is kind of like, oh my god, what's happening next? And like I said, this whole time this poor guy's just trying to figure out who the hell broke into his house, who gave him this weird book, because when he's reading this book and it quotes certain things from this book, it talks about fear. I feel like I said, this is just a big book I would like to recommend for you to read. So you can read this and then take it into your own perspectives, and then, you know, you could write comments about it. I do know you could get it on sound, like an audiobook if you would like. I don't have any links to that yet. Maybe one day. But yeah, I just know you can get it in an audiobook form. Yeah, because one of the neighbors saw this sitting on the kitchen table and was like, yo, where'd you get this? And I was like, yo, I found it on a freaking walk. And like, yep, I'm getting it. It's weird. I'm going to read it, or hear it, listen to it. I'm like, yep. I don't think they have, but it's alright. I'm still reading it. But anyway, yeah, I just think that there is I just wanted to bring up that topic of conversation, and maybe we could talk about it a little bit. But just the notion that, you know, and we can make a whole video. I really want to talk about the social dilemma itself, and like my views on social media, and being back on certain social medias versus not wanting to have certain social medias, and yeah, just also my thoughts on that movie, documentary, because it's an amazing documentary. So if anything, from this video into like my next video, take the time to watch that. It's not that long and it's very, very like, ooh, hooking me. Watch it while you're eating breakfast or eating dinner or something along those lines. So anyway, yes, I just think that there is a strong connection between kind of what's happening right now. And I feel like the sentence he said, that their conclusion is that digitalization has caused an epidemic of fear, and that's what we're living in right now. And I honestly think that is completely and absolutely true. I mean, think about, just the notion that things have been happening for forever, but we always haven't had a means of documenting it. I mean, people wrote books for forever. The newspaper became a thing, but radio happened before TV happened. So, it was a while before people had the ability to document things and digitalize it and have it saved, as opposed to just being a moment that happened and not being able to go back to it and view it or dismantle it or, any of those things. It's just like he said, it's digital. And with the way social media is, and he even explains this in the book, like you leave a slime trail everywhere you go, from everything you search to everything you look at to everything, that you fear. And it's just wild to hear that, they have these computers out there that, don't do anything but gather information off of fear and the fluctuations between what's being talked about on the news and if fear-based media makes more money, So, it's just so interesting to think like how this all spider webs out, and that yes, we see it as some like little thing, but what if it's like everybody's kind of connected to it and everybody up here understands that fear down here keeps them up. I don't know, just interesting to think about. An amazing book. I really, really recommend it. If you guys have any other interesting recommendations, let me know. And another interesting thing is my friend and I, well, my friends, obviously she does, but she was like, dude, that's so weird that you found that book too, because that is literally somebody very dear to her, their grandpa's exact name. So I was just like, this is interesting. So yeah. Get your hands on it, or listen to it in audio, or listen to The Social Dilemma. One of those things. But tell me what you think about the whole idea of things being digitalized and creating an epidemic of fear, and that being what's making the money, even though the fear the media is putting out there isn't telling us that, right? Anyway, yeah, interesting thoughts. Got a lot to say, but I don't want to make this too long. So, see you guys later. Bye.